National Communications Director for the 10th Amendment Center. I'm also the author of a book called Our Last Hope, which is the philosophical, historical, and moral case for nullification. I actually have some copies with me if anybody's interested, or you can purchase it on Amazon, and that's the end of our commercial for today. So it's great to see you guys out here. You probably won't be surprised to find out that as the Communications Director for the 10th Amendment Center, I actually believe that the framers of the Constitution, when they insisted on an amendment that said that the powers not delegated to the federal government would be left to the states and the people, I actually think that they believed that that meant that there were certain things that the federal government cannot do. Now, unfortunately, most Americans don't understand that. Most Americans have this idea that Washington, D.C. is way up here, and then the state governments are kind of here in the middle, and we the people, we're down here on the bottom groveling, asking the government to do stuff for us. That's not the system that our founders gave us. In our system, we the people are in charge. You guys are in charge. I'm in charge. The state governments do sit in the middle. And ladies and gentlemen, Washington, D.C. is actually on the bottom of the totem pole. Because you see, the people of the states, or the people, had already delegated certain powers to their states. And then through those political societies, which already existed, they delegated specific enumerated powers to a federal government for the purpose of a union. So you see, the federal government is on the bottom. And as Americans, we should like this because it's a decentralized system, and most Americans understand the problems with centralized power. Imagine for a minute that I was here today to announce to you guys that Kroger is now going to have a monopoly on all grocery sales in the state of Tennessee. Now, most of you guys would probably throw a fit. I would be happy. My wife works for Kroger. It'd be great for us. But for you guys, you would obviously have concerns about prices rising and not getting good service and not having a big selection because there's no competition for Kroger. And I guarantee you the folks on the left would be screaming the loudest about this corporate monopoly. Here's what I don't understand. Why is it bad for a corporation to have a monopoly, but it's good to have a monopoly of government power? I don't get it. Now, some people are probably already thinking this dude, Maharrey, is a little bit of an extremist. I get called that a lot. I'm not sure why. But I used to kind of have a problem with it. It used to kind of upset me. But I'll be honest with you, it really doesn't bother me anymore because I started thinking about what the mainstream people believe. I mean, think about what these non-extreme people are telling you. These keepers of public opinion are trying to tell you that the same people that gave you the $640 toilet seat, the same people that stick their hands down your pants at the airport, these same people that have spent us into $16 trillion of debt and still have the audacity to look at us and say, we don't have a spending problem. They want us to believe that these people are going to effectively, efficiently, and compassionately run a healthcare system for the entire 350 million people in this country. Oh, and by the way, they're going to make it affordable. We know this because it says so in the Act, right? It's the Affordable Care Act. Now, if that's the mainstream position, I'll stick with extreme. And you know, honestly, if you think about it, if I'm extreme because I say that the federal government should have limited powers, that puts me in pretty good company. You know, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry. Heck, even Alexander Hamilton said that the federal government would have limited powers. In fact, Madison explained the system that we were supposed to have in Federalist 45. He said that the federal government, the powers delegated to it by the Constitution, would be few and defined. And then he went on and said that the powers remaining with the states and the people would be numerous and indefinite. And he went on and explained it. He said the federal power would primarily be concerned with war, peace, treaties with foreign nations, and foreign trade. And then all of the powers left to the states would have to do with the life, liberty, and properties of the people, and the internal improvements, order, and prosperity of the state. Now, I confess I'm not a lawyer. And to be honest with you, in this particular situation, that's probably a good thing because we've all seen what some of our lawyers here in Nashville, the hatchet job they've done with constitutional history. So maybe maybe I should say it like this. You don't need to be a lawyer to understand that running a federal healthcare system is not among those powers that Madison was talking about delegated to the federal government. I'm going to put it very simple. Senator Beaver said it perfectly. There is no enumerated power for the federal government to run a healthcare system for the entire United States. And therefore, when they do that, they are violating the highest law of the land, the Constitution. And therefore, by definition, that makes them criminals. Now, I know, the Supreme Court said it was constitutional. And I was shocked by that decision. I mean, it's amazing that federal employees found new power for the federal government. It's almost as shocking as the bank finding against me in a debate about my mortgage. Listen, people are trying to sell you a lie. There are people that are trying to tell you that the federal government gets to determine the extent of its own powers. This idea is dumb. It doesn't make any sense. It's like me telling you that the University of Florida player is going to be the referee at the next UK or Florida-Tennessee game. I think this would be great because then I wouldn't have to listen to Rocky Top over and over again. Jefferson put it like this: the states were not united on the principle of unlimited submission to the federal government. He went on to say this: the government created by the Constitution was not made the exclusive or final judge of its own power. Because to do that would mean that it, and not the Constitution, would become the means of judging that power. And that doesn't make any sense. If there is no mechanism for the federal government to be held in check, then we indeed do have a federal government that has unlimited power to do whatever we want, even though the founders and framers said that that was not the case. But you see, Madison, he said that when the federal government oversteps its bounds, that it was up to the states to step in and interpose. I want to read exactly what he said in Federalist 46, because this lays out the blueprint. He said, when the federal government oversteps, the means of opposition to it are powerful and at hand. The disquietude of the people, that's you guys, their repugnance and perhaps refusal to cooperate with the officers of the Union, the embarrassment created by legislative devices which would often be added on such occasions would oppose in any state very serious impediments, and where the sentiments of several adjoining states happen to be in union, would present obstructions which the federal government would hardly be willing to encounter. Madison. He said that when the federal government oversteps, these folks in your state legislature not only have the right, they have the duty to step up and put federal power back in check. And ladies and gentlemen, it is up to you to let these guys in your legislature know that they need to stand up and do their job, or else you're going to find people who will. Your healthcare decisions are among some of the most intimate decisions that you will make in your entire life. I mean, it can literally be the matter of life and death. Mark my words, if we give the federal government a monopoly on health care, they're going to dictate every aspect of your life. They're going to tell you what you can eat and what you can't eat. They're going to tell you what activities you can participate in and what activities you can't participate in. They're going to dictate the proper forms of treatment and the best drugs. They are going to run all of these aspects of your life. I don't think that's a good idea. One of my favorite historical figures is Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass knew a little bit about living under tyranny. He spent a good part of his life in slavery. He said this: find out just what people will submit to, and you have found out the exact measure of the injustice and wrong which will be imposed upon them. We have too many people in America today that have gotten used to just submitting. We've got state legislatures that go and beg the federal government to please, please, please don't enforce this unconstitutional act. We go and beg the courts, the federal courts, please, please, please rule and protect us. And it moves into our personal lives as well. We beg the federal government to approve this particular care, this particular medication. We have people that find marijuana a good way to treat their pain, begging the government to let them use it. We have people that are begging the federal government to let them buy whole milk, for goodness sake. We need to stop. We need to stop. Stop asking permission where none is required. Thank you very much.